If you ever struggle to get images colored in fast for cards, this video is for you. Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Keppel, and in today's video, I am sharing how I color in stamped or die-cut images really quickly. Today, to showcase these really easy techniques, I'll be using Pretty Pink Posh stamps and dies. So let's take a look at those stamps and dies before we get started. First up, this is the Pretty Pink Posh Christmas Dinosaur stamp set. There are matching dies that cut out all of the little images. I chose this set because I wanted to do a rainbow of colors, but you can use this technique with flowers or any other set that you have. For the die set, I chose Love from Afar from the latest Pretty Pink Posh release because there are a bunch of different die cuts you can color. Now, let me show you my favorite quick and easy way to color in stamped images. Of course, first I want to stamp the images. So I've taken each of the dinosaurs from the Christmas dinosaur set, and I have them in my Mini MISTI on a white piece of cardstock. It's a pretty smooth piece of cardstock, which will make the technique that much easier. I'm coating this with anti-static powder tool, and I thought I was going to emboss those with embossing powder, but I did change my mind a little bit here. But the great thing is when you have new stamps, that Versamark ink, that embossing ink, is a really great way to prime the stamps. So I like to stamp it out so that the Versamark is not on my stamp when I put another ink on top of them. So this is the VersaFine Black Onyx ink. It's a pigment ink, so it stays wet a little bit longer. So I'll take Hero Arts Ultra Fine Clear Embossing Powder and pour it all over the stamped images. This is a great embossing powder. It's clear, and because it's ultra fine, it will show up all the little details of those dinosaurs. Next, I just have to take my heat gun and heat set that embossing powder. You can see when it's cloudy and then goes to shiny black, that's all set and ready to go. Next, I'll take my Distress Oxide inks in a rainbow of colors. I've looked at each of the images and decided which ones make the most sense with a Roy G. Biv format here, although we're not going to get to the violet, I don't think. So I have the little dinosaur, the T-Rex, has a Santa hat. So that's kind of a red color. So I just color in, no rhyme or reason, just sloppy coloring all over with ink blending, and I love to use my Waffle Flower shader brushes for that because I don't waste a lot of ink on a huge ink blender. They're the perfect size to just blend the right amount of color on each of these stamped images. So now you can see I'm using Salvage Patina for the blue, and don't worry about coloring outside the lines either. It will look great when you die cut them to have colorful outlines. The next thing I'll do is grab some pencils. I like Prismacolors for this because they're pretty smooth and they go on well over ink. So this ink hasn't even dried that fully or completely, I don't think, and I'm still able to get the Prismacolor to go on top. It's always nice to have a white Prismacolor pencil. They do really good work, similar to a gel pen, like a white gel pen. But I love the colors on color, so I'm trying to stick within the hue and have blue accents on the blue dinosaur, green accents on the green dinosaur, yellow accents on the yellow dinosaur, that type of thing. So there's a couple little elements to each of these stamped images that will allow you to color them in. For example, the blue dinosaur has earmuffs and a scarf, and as I mentioned, the T-Rex has the Santa hat. The pterodactyl has a wreath that it's holding. I am using a red pencil just to add berries and the bow to the wreath, and I think that's fine as well, as long as it's small. I like to make the colors stay within that color range, except for small little details like that. So here I have an orange pencil for this guy, and I'm coloring in his horns and some aspects of the gifts that he's holding on his back. Now I will add some sparkle. So the Pentel Sparkle pens are my absolute favorite gel metallic pens, similar to the Milky Pop White, which is the white gel pen that I use all the time. And I've had this pen for a long time. And you can see that I was able to color in the lights on the top there. And I'm using now the white gel pen to color in the teeth on the Triceratops, just little accents here and there. I can even color over the pencil or the ink with this white gel pen to have a little bit of white that pops off of that scarf there. I think it's super cute. And then I just like to add little dots and flourishes here and there. All the dies, remember, I have all the dies to cut out all the images, especially all the dinosaurs, but even all those small images that come in the stamp set as well. So this is how they turned out. And I just think even the outside being colored is super cute. It's a little different than the white outline, and I really like it. On an A2 piece of white cardstock, I am stamping the sentiment that comes with the stamp set. It says Merry Rexmas, and I have it in a corner where I know I'm not going to place a dinosaur. But I did use the same technique of using some Versamark and then using some VersaFine, and then covering that with clear ultrafine embossing powder and heat setting that. I'm going to place this white A2 card panel with the sentiment on my 8x8 waffle flower grip mat. And I'm using the stencil from the latest Pretty Pink Posh release called Winter Words stencil. And I've taped off the sentiment that I stamped already because I don't want ink going over that. So I'll do the same rainbow of colors that I used for the dinosaurs. Each line will be a different color. And I'm actually using the same blender brushes that I used to color in the dinosaurs as well. So this will perfectly match, this background will perfectly match the images that I colored in already. And check that out. The only thing was I felt like underneath the Merry Rexmas, there was a little bit too much white space. So I replaced it and then replaced some tape and then added the color that would go in that little spot. This way it wasn't a huge amount of white space around the sentiment, but it stands out perfectly. Now I'll use some foam squares to pop up each of the dinosaurs. I'll start backwards here so that I can add one next to the sentiment, and then I'll have two right in the middle of the card and then two at the top, and it'll go in Roy G. Biv order. So again, these dinosaurs are so cute. You could color them in with alcohol markers, pencils, whatever, or you could do this really quick and easy card that still turns out so cute. That technique also works for die cuts. So let me share how I would die cut images and color them in. The great thing about this technique is that you can use white cardstock for all the die cuts. So if you have fewer colors of cardstock and more colors of ink, this technique is for you because you can just cut everything out of white cardstock and then color it in and do really easy coloring with ink. I started though with the little flag, and you can cut out 3 different sentiments from it, and you just place the little sentiment dies right over the die cut flag that you cut. And then I like to back it with a piece of cardstock. So in this case, I'm going to back it with a piece of white cardstock, meaning I cut the flag out of the white cardstock and the gold mirror cardstock, and I'll adhere them together. This way you can see all the letters. But of course, I had to fill in all the little O's and the D because I don't know, I just felt like it needed those little elements just to make it very clear what the phrase says, and says joy to the world. Now let's start with the earth shape. This time I'm using a larger brush to color it in because this is a larger shape and I just want to get it done really quickly. So I have Salvaged Patina once again. It's just one of my favorite colors. You can see the little waves that are die cut into the earth, and I've placed it on a 6x6 waffle flower grip mat so that I can hold it in place and not have to worry about getting fingerprints on it, which is something I do all the time when I ink blend. I also have a couple of little die cut hearts here. And again, I'm using those new Shader Plus brushes to really get the ink down quickly. And I love to start from the outside and go towards the center. That gives you a slightly darker color on the outside, makes it look a little bit like you added some shading and blending. And then I have these little pine trees, which I'll use some rustic wilderness and then a brown for the trunk. So now I'm just filling in the last little pieces that I need to create my globe. Next, I'll just use a little bit of liquid adhesive behind these die cuts, or foam adhesive if I'm popping them up. I don't like to use tape runner here because Distress Oxide I feel like does better with either sticky foam tape or liquid adhesive in holding things together. So I have the Joy to the World pennant in the center. I have a couple of hearts, one popped up. I have a couple of trees, one with a little tiny star. This is Hero Art's White Shimmer Iridescent. Now, I like to take the cap out and then just use that to spritz some of it onto some cardstock, and I'm using some dark blue cardstock. But the thing about the shimmer is that it's not opaque white. It's a shimmer, so it ends up being slightly iridescent, less white. So then I add a little bit of the Dina Wakley Media Gloss in white, and that is like an acrylic paint, so it will stay on top of the cardstock and dry there. And check that out. So those are all my stars in the background of my space sky. I did want to add a few white gel pen details to the little die cuts themselves. The trees have some little pierced pieces on them that I decided to add some white as if they're covered with a little bit of snow, but not too much snow. And then just little dots here and there again, just little accents to make your die cuts stand out a little bit more. I decided to use some foam tape behind the earth so that it'll pop up off of the space sky that I created. I had only flipped it over because I didn't want to get anything on the die cut pieces that I had already colored in the way I wanted to. The flag that goes in the center, or the pennant, has those edges, so I did pop them up but on slightly lower adhesive, so I feel like it ends up looking dimensional the way that a pennant like that would. So a little bit of foam tape, but in a slightly different height than the other one. I'm also using a little bit of foam square under the wings of the doves here, so that the doves have a wing that is sort of popped off of the body a little bit, and it makes sense when you see it. These die cuts colored in so quickly, I was really able to make a little bit of an intricate looking card very quickly and easily. We are deep in the holiday season, so I'm always looking for quick and easy techniques to create really fun holiday cards. If you haven't checked out my Get a Jump on Christmas playlist, I'll link to that here. As always, I want to thank you so much for stopping by and spending time with me today. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you again soon. 2 ways to color, today's video, today